The Nonprofit Podcast. Tools, tips, and tactics to take your organization to the next level. The Nonprofit Podcast, powered by Donorbox.
Year-end planning can feel overwhelming. You know you should start early, but you often put things off. And that could be bad news for your year-end fundraising. Welcome to the Nonprofit Podcast. I'm Cara, fundraising coach at Donorbox.
And I'm Jena, nonprofit advocate at Donorbox.
We're here each week with practical actions you can use today to increase donations and take your nonprofit to the next level tomorrow.
And taking your nonprofit to the next level tomorrow might just hinge on a really great year-end fundraising campaign. I've been seeing a lot of posts on LinkedIn and even articles via email about year-end fundraising lately, and that's a good thing. It's really great to be having this conversation right now. So today we'll be talking about year-end fundraising campaigns. We'll talk about why year-end fundraising is such a big deal and how to navigate it.
I was recently attending a board meeting for a local nonprofit, and the conversation drifted to planning the year-end fundraising campaign and all that it entails. And we took a quick look at the financial statement and saw that half of the revenue this organization brought in last year was in November and December. Half!
I think that's the case for a lot of organizations out there, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Actually, the Blackbaud Institute reported that more than a third of annual giving occurs in the last 3 months of the year. And those few months typically bring in, well, half of the revenue for many organizations, just like you were saying, Cara.
Well, we have some donor box organizations, like many others out there, I'm sure, who tried something at year end last year or maybe in the last couple of years and really got some lackluster results. And that's disappointing.
Yeah. And I've actually heard that in our donor box community too. So why do you think that is?
Oh, I think every organization is a little different, but I've seen a lot of organizations just throw a social media post up on Giving Tuesday and hope that it works. Or maybe they share a link to their giving page and hope for the best. But an actual fundraising campaign is more than that. It's so much more than that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not just about putting up a post or sharing your donation page. It's about strategizing and planning ahead of time. And this is all to make sure that your message gets out there and people know what you're doing, why you're doing it, and how they can support you, right? And I've seen large, more established organizations do a really good job with their fundraising campaigns. They have direct mail and reshare the message and call to action through email and social media follow-ups. And there are so many great examples out there. And some of those larger organizations raise some significant money to keep their programs and services running all year and, well, keep their operations going strong too. So, Cara, what's the secret here? What are these larger organizations doing that nonprofits of any size can replicate?
Well, I talked about this a couple weeks ago on this podcast, and it's a 3-2-1 planning approach. And we have a great visual for this, and I'll link it for you in the show notes again, too. But these large organizations are most definitely putting something like this 3-2-1 planning into action. It's a planning strategy, and they're not waiting until the last minute. They're spending time now thanking their previous supporters and showing them the impact that their support made. And then they'll be spending time over the next couple of months really digging deep into making sure that their team is prepped, their tech is prepped, their website and landing pages are spot on, and they'll be writing copy and scheduling it for mail and email and social media. And they'll be identifying who to thank and how to thank them and how to do it really well so that those supporters will choose to give again next year. And I know that that's a lot. That really is a lot.
It is. It's a lot. And it's complicated too.
It is. Yeah.
I think that one of the reasons why some nonprofits struggle with year-end fundraising is because they try to do too much at once. Well, considering all these things you just mentioned, right? Or they're considering too much at once and they get caught up in all these details and end up in something I call analysis paralysis, right? And There's so much information out there. It's overwhelming to know what's good, what will work for their specific organization, and even how to apply it. And they need help getting started and they don't know where to go or who to ask.
Well, we saw a really big gap with this exactly. And there's so much information out there. And there's really great information out there too, but it's hard to know how to apply it. So, how can I apply this really great checklist to create a year end fundraising campaign when I don't fully understand what each item means?
Hmm.
So what I mean is is this. So I saw a great checklist online that included writing fundraising appeals, and that sounds really great. But what goes into a fundraising appeal can be really complex. And that topic alone is really deep and detailed. And there's a lot of science behind writing fundraising appeals. And there are so many elements that are unique to a fundraising appeal or all the other elements of a fundraising campaign that a lot of organizations or founders of organizations are unaware of. So, to help with applying that information into something actionable, we created Donorbox Academy. And that it was created to help bridge that gap between knowledge and application. So, learning about something and then actually putting it into action to raise more money for all these really great organizations. And year end campaigns is a big pain point from a lot of organizations because so much money really is dependent on that year end campaign. And so, for anyone who's a little overwhelmed by everything that goes into a year end fundraising campaign, or maybe they just want to get a jump start on the giving season, we have the first of our new masterclass series. And it's really exciting. It's a new course we launched with a select group of students in August, and it's about how to create your entire year end fundraising plan in just 30 days. And it's getting really great feedback. And we want to offer it again in September because that year end fundraising campaign has a lot of moving parts. And we're offering live programming plus templates and guides just so that none of these organizations have to do it alone. And I'm excited that our podcast listeners to the nonprofit podcast, they get a special extra discount. We offered a promo code in an episode a couple weeks ago. I want to repeat that again. The promo code podcast, PODCAST, can be used to register, and you receive 30% off. And it's valid until the course begins at noon Eastern Time on Wednesday, September 7th. And we created the class. We hear so many nonprofit fundraisers and nonprofit professionals just say that they're busy. There's not enough time and not enough staff. I had a phone call a couple hours ago just today with a coaching client who said, I don't have enough. And that's why we created this course. So it's for busy nonprofit fundraisers, and it tackles issues like planning your strategy. We actually have a workbook that we go through and create appeals and figure out how to take that core message and apply it to email and social media, and then scheduling them and sending them to the right people at the right time. And we're delivering it weekly. So it's not so overwhelming. We're just taking little bit by little bit each week. We have live instruction, we have small group discussions, we have office hours, templates, workbooks, all of that. And our students are spending a couple hours a week. So it's a little bit of a time commitment. And they're in the course independently for a short time and work through these guided resources. And we get together for a live teaching session once a week. And then we have office hours once a week where they check in and say, hey, I'm struggling with this, or would you take a look at this? And so it's really fun. Our Donorbox team is fabulous. I get to work alongside you, Jenna, and a lot of our teammates to support these students through it all. And it's really rewarding and really, really fun.
I'm so excited about the Donorbox Academy. Like I just said before, a lot of people don't know where to go or who to reach out to. And Cara, you've created a solution for that right through Donorbox. So I really hope that people check it out and sign up. But you know what else I love is that we have a great team at Donorbox who have worked with nonprofits and have experience in everything from fundraising and donor relations and operations and volunteer engagement and marketing and communications. And I think that really sets us apart when you're thinking about a place that you can go to that you can learn from and trust. And we've done the work and we understand where organizations are coming from. It's lived and learned experience. And we also really understand what our nonprofits are dealing with right now.
Absolutely. And I'm always impressed with our team and the level of professionalism that each of us kind of shares with our Donorbox organizations as well.
We know that it's not always easy to get started on planning for year-end fundraising. We know that you're busy. We know that there are a million things that you could be doing right now that feel a lot more urgent, right? But if you don't take the time now, then when will you? So I want to give you a small step that you can do today. This is one small thing that any organization can do right now, right after you're done listening to this episode. This is my challenge for you. Get started on planning a thankathon.
Thankathon.
Yes, I love a thankathon, and it's just the catchiest way to say donor appreciation, right? So it's so easy to get caught up in the hustle and the bustle of planning year-end fundraising, but it's really, 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 really important to remember that there are people who have supported you throughout the year who deserve your thanks and appreciation. And it's a really important step in your year-end fundraising planning too. So when you send out these thank you letters and emails, or when you give a phone call to a supporter or even host an event to thank your supporters, you're going to let your supporters know that they're a part of something really, really important. And that's going to make them feel more connected to your cause. They're going to feel good about themselves too. And they're going to be more likely to give again when you ask them for your help during your year-end fundraising appeals.
Absolutely. I love the Thankathon. I got an actual mailed newsletter from one of my favorite organizations this week. They profiled one of their beneficiaries, they profiled one of their staff members, and they showed the impact, and they gave a big thank you to the donations that made that possible and the donors behind those donations. So it was a really fabulous piece, and it helps that organization stay in the forefront of my mind when I'm thinking about giving again at year end. And that, Jena, is excellent, practical, actionable advice for any nonprofit. Thank you. And that Thankathon is a great first step into the year-end fundraising campaign. So be sure to build in time to look at your benchmarks, set a goal, prep your team and your tech, write and schedule your appeals, and plan some really great ways to wrap it all up with a big thank you. And if that seems like a lot and you'd like a guide through that year-end planning journey, Donorbox Academy is here to help. Check us out at academy.donorbox.org and use that promo code to register for the year-end planning masterclass today. Thank you for choosing to spend time with the Nonprofit Podcast today. I hope you've left with confidence to take a small step today that will make a big difference tomorrow. And don't forget to download and review the podcast today, or give it a thumbs up if you're listening to the Nonprofit Podcast on YouTube. Your review is a great way to help others find us. You're here to help others. We're here to help you. So until next time, stay inspired.
The Nonprofit Podcast, powered by Donorbox, helping you help others.